This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. So in today's class, we are going to see a special topic. This topic actually, when you go to the real time, definitely it will be very, very helpful. Normally in the training, people will not cover. Even if you see my course content also, it is not there. But yesterday, few maybe day before yesterday, so one of you asked me like, can you show this connecting badge to the GitHub? So I felt definitely this is useful in the real time. So immediately added this topic. So first of all, there might be some people who do not know what is a GitHub and why we need to connect our Business Application Studio to GitHub. So let us first discuss some basics about the GitHub, and then we'll talk about how to connect this Business Application Studio to the GitHub and how to pull the code, push the code, all that stuff. All right. So pay attention. So let us say this is my Business Application Studio. What is this? This is my Business Application Studio. In the Business Application Studio, what we will do, we create projects. So I have my SAP UFA project. So when you create SAP UFA project, it creates so much of structure like node underscore modules and then web app folder. And inside the web app folder, there is a hierarchy, right? So we have some hierarchy. And even outside the web app folder also, you have some files. For example, neo, sorry, this UI5.aml file and UI5.localml dot local aml, and we also have package.json. So like this, there are some files which are outside the web app folder as well, and these files and folders help you to connect your business application studio to your OData service. So now please try to understand the entire picture clearly. So let's say this is my SAP gateway system in the real time. This is SAP gateway system, and this is SAP backend system. However, we don't require the SAP backend system because SAP UI5 will not talk to the backend system directly. SAP UI5 always talks to the SAP gateway system because your OData service is there, right? Now, these files like UI5.aml, UI5 so these files contains the configuration related to your OData service, and they help you to connect your UI5 project to this OData service when it is present in a business application studio. We all need to understand like the business application studio is a tool. Business application studio is a tool to develop your application. Once the development is over, okay, once the development is over, now this particular SAP UI5 project will be deployed. It will be deployed to the server, right? I cannot ask my end users to take business application studio license. I will give the code. Okay, you import my code into your business application studio and then run the application. Can I ask like that? No, right? For example, you want to use Facebook. Are you installing any tool and running your application? No. You are straight away writing facebook.com in the browser and it is ready and it is working. How? Because it is connecting to a server where the Facebook application is deployed. So similarly, Business Application Studio is a tool to develop the application. Once the development is over, this application is deployed into this server. So remember, SAP Gateway System does two things. One is it holds the OData service, and second thing is it acts like a web application server. So your UI5 application also present here only. UI5 Fiori apps will also present in the SAP gateway system only. So gateway system, SAP gateway system acts like a web application server. Okay, all right, fine. But we know that when you deploy this application to the server, when you deploy this application to the server, only the web app folder and it contains only these will go to the server, right? So that also we have discussed. So because only the web application server needs only the web app folder and its contents. It does not need your UI5 YAML, UI5. So these UI5 YAML, these files are needed for business application studio, not for your server. So during the deployment, it will leave all these unnecessary files, and only this web app folder and its contents will go and sit in the SAP gateway system. Okay, fine. So let's say I'm the application developer. I used SAP Business Application Studio, created a project, deployed it into the server. Okay, over. Everything is over, right? Now, after 2-3 years, let's say the client got some changes in this application. The client got some changes in this application. Now another developer has came into picture. Obviously, after 2 years, who who will stay in that project? There is no guarantee, right? So now I'm in. Let's say Venki entered in this project and he got the task to do some changes in this UI5 application. Now what he will do? He will take the SAP Business Application Studio. Now this is a fresh another business application studio. Now he will try to import this project. Now if he try to import the project that is deployed into this particular server, let's say, okay, Business Application Studio, this option used to be there in SAP Web ID. In SAP Web ID, you can pull the code that is deployed into this particular server in Web ID. But that option is removed from Business Application Studio because that option gives many uh, problems. I will tell you why that option is not correct and why it leads into problems. Now you pulled out this code into the Business Application Studio. Okay, so Venki is a new developer and he pulled this code into the Business Application Studio. Now what happens? He will get this web app folder and he will get the contents of the web app folder. You get the contents of the web app folder. Let's so this is the contents. So these are the contents of the web app folder. Now he want to, so before he do some coding changes, first of all he want to run this application, correct? So when he try to run this application from Business Application Studio, obviously when you are doing code changes, you want to see the code changes immediately by running the application preview in the Business Application Studio. We are also doing it from last 2 days, correct? We are right clicking on the web app folder and using the option preview application. Now when you right click and say the preview application, he can't see any output because your Business Application Studio is not connected to the OData service. To connect to the OData service, all these details are present in these files. Getting my point? So your Business Application Studio in this project, okay, in this project, it needs this UI5.yaml, it needs UI5 it needs package.json. So all these files it didn't pulled out because that is not pushed into the server. So the server has only the web app folder and its contents. Now, in such a case, how can you work? How the new developer can work? Again, he need to create this UI5.yaml, which is a very, very difficult process. If you open UI5.aml, the configuration that you have, creating such a configuration is very difficult, right? And at that time, whatever the configuration, so 2 years back, whatever the configuration is there, so same configuration you need to pull out here. Okay. So what the Business Application Studio made it as mandatory in SAP Web ID, that was not mandatory. You can directly pull out the code into Web ID as well. But because of that, there are some problems happen, and SAP don't want to get into these kind of problems. So SAP made the code repository as a mandatory thing in Business Application Studio. Why? Because these things are happening. When you are pulling the code from the web app from the server, only the web app folder and its contents are coming, but the other needed files to run the application from the Business Application Studio, because I do some changes and I want to see how that code is actually reflecting in my output window in my application, correct? So every developer will do some code changes and see what is the result in the application. And that is not possible because you did not have these 4 files. Okay. So after the introduction of Business Application Studio, SAP said, boss, using the code repository is mandatory. From then onwards, the clients are purchasing some code repository. So the code repository, we have wide variety of code repositories in the market. Okay, so like GitHub, so it is one of the famous code repository. Okay, so that is also called as a version control system. And Bitbucket, so this is another code repository. So in real time, whatever among these code repositories, there are few others as well, but I mainly work with GitHub and Bitbucket. So there might be something else, but it does not matter which code repository it is. All the code repositories will work in the same way. Okay, right. Now, so let's assume this is my code repository. So the green color picture. So assume this is a code repository. So I'm calling this as GitHub now. Now this in this particular code repository, what we will do, we will create. So inside the GitHub, you can create multiple repositories. Okay. For each project, we will create one repository normally. Okay. For each and every application, one repository will be there. Now this SAP UI5 project, whatever it is there. So I will create repository means you can assume it like a memory, okay, a space kind of thing. Now let's say this is batch 70 SAP UI5 app. Okay, so I created a repository with this name. I created a repository with this name. Now what I will do, uh, so let's say the 2 years back, the developer created Business Application Studio. He developed it and he deployed the source code to the server. Fine. At the same time, what he will do, he will also push this code into this particular code repository. Okay. So inside the GitHub, you can create any number of repositories. Normally for each application, you will create one repository. Okay. Now what I will do, I will push this code into this repository. When you push the code into this code repository, all the files will go and sit, not only web app folder, because it's a code repository. It's a code repository. What is code repository? It just keep your code. That's all. It just keep your code. Whatever the code that you give, it just maintain that particular code. Okay. Now, after 2 years, when Venki came into the project, instead of pulling the code in from this SAP gateway system, he will simply he will not pull the code from here. Okay, why this is not rubbing? Okay, he will not pull the code from here, but instead he will pull the code from the code repository so that he not only gets only the web app folder, but at that time, whatever the UI5.ml, whatever the other files, so whatever are there, all of them will come and your business application studio smoothly, the business application studio smoothly run your application. You simply need to right click and say preview application, and that's all, your application will run. Okay, and that is the reason if you go to the real-time projects who are working with business application studio, the code repository is mandatory. But once upon a time, this is not mandatory. I have seen so many clients who are not using code repository just because what is a need? They will say what is a need, and that too, this is a licensed cost. Okay, so an additional cost. Already they are paying for this SAP backend system, SAP gateway system, and now this is an additional cost. So in those times, before 2017 and all, so at that time, people, the clients especially, they used to think like anyway our code is present in this SAP gateway system, and from Web IDE, when you pull the code anyway, it is working. So what is the need? So this is what they used to think. What is the need? And in Web IDE, you do not have these files like UFI.ml. All these files are not there. So when you pull it from web app folder, so most of the files are inside web app folder only. So you use it to get all of them. Okay, so that's the biggest problem. Once people started using Business Application Studio, so they encountered this problem. They encountered this problem. Okay, all right. Now the next question that come into picture is, then what about those projects who are developed using SAP Web IDE and deployed into the server? Okay, now those projects I want to work with the Business Application Studio. Getting my point? Somebody has developed it using SAP Web IDE and deployed it into the server. Okay, so in Web IDE, we do not have these files like uifa.ml, uifa package.json. So these files are not there. So mostly Web IDE projects contains web app folder and its contents mostly. Okay, the other files are very less. Now I'm not using Web IDE, I'm using Business Application Studio. And at that time, that fellow did not use the code repository also. Okay, at the time the code repository is not there. Even there, the client has not taken the license. Then how can I do changes to those projects which are developed using SAP Web IDE? Then what you need to do is you can pull this particular project, you can download this project. Okay, maybe you can pull this project into Web IDE first, into a local Web IDE, as I told you, local installed Web IDE. I will show you as a part 2 of this class. You can export that particular project from local Web IDE and import it into your Business Application Studio. The Business Application Studio immediately recognize that this is a project developed using SAP Web IDE. Okay, and it will create these files uifa.ml, uifa package.json. So these files it will automatically create. Okay, so this is called migrating the SAP Web IDE project into Business Application Studio. Okay, but going forward, you know, this but when you import the project that is developed using SAP Web IDE into Business Application Studio, you have some little challenges. So if you want to be on a very more safer side, so using the code repository is the best option. All right. So first, we are going to see how this code repository works and how can we connect our business application studio to the code repository, and how can I push this code into the Git repository. Now I'm going to draw the diagram, which is basically only the code repository related things. Now this is my business application studio and this is my code repository. So since we are in the training, we need to use only the GitHub public. So you can create an account in this GitHub GitHub. You can create just an account, free account, and you can create some free repositories for the training purpose. Okay. Now inside my business application studio, I created a SAP UI5 project. Now I have written some coding and I want to push this code into the Git repository. So let us see how this works. Step number one is every business application studio will have something called local repository. So don't get confused with this word. Every business application studio, it has something called the local repository. Local repo means repository. Okay. So step number one is you will initialize this local repository. You will initialize the local repository for this project. Like this, for each and every project, the process is same. Okay, this local repository is only for this project. Now, first you will, the first step number one is to initialize this local repository and push all your coding files into this local repository. Once you push all these coding files, including all the files, see, when I'm telling about files, all the files, the repository can hold all the files, okay, because it is not your web application server, which takes only web app folder, okay. Now, all the files will come and sit in the local repository, and after that, you can do a push into the main repository. So you need to connect to this main repository and push all these into the main repository. So this is how the Git will work. Remember, you cannot push the project files directly into the GitHub. So this is not possible. So first of all, the files should be added to the local repository. You can assume this like a local memory, and from here, so you can push it directly into the this ultimate GitHub repository. Maybe some of you may have a question why this kind of architecture. So why this local repository? Because see, I'm working on a project. I will do the changes every now and then. Okay, so every time, why I will push these experimental changes into the main repository? No. So let's say I'm working on a view and functionality of the view, right? So at the time, I will write the code, I will delete the code, I will write the code, I will delete the code. Many times I will do that, right? So in such a situation, why should I, push those experimental code changes into the main repository? That is not needed. So what we will do in a day or two or in a week. So in a week, we are working on a functionality. So all that functionality will be, we will push only into the local repository. We will not push into the main GitHub repository. So once after a week, if I feel, yes, this functionality is perfectly working, now I can push the code changes into the Git repository. So the fine-tuned code only goes to this particular Git repository. Okay. So let's say this repository name is B70 repository, and I will push my code changes into this one. So that is basically the agenda between having the local repository. All right, then let us start and create a fresh project, or we already have a project. Let us push that project into the GitHub repository. So all of you, what you need to do in today after the class is you need to go to github.com and you need to create an account. I already created the account, so it already logged in for me. It is just as good as creating a Facebook account, my dear friends. So you can do it on your own. I'm not showing here because I already created the account, guys. So what you can do, go to GitHub login. So go to Google, type GitHub login, and it will uh, land up in the login page. There you have a sign up option. So do the sign up on your own. It will just ask email ID, password, confirm password. That's all. Nothing else. It's very, very easy. After that, once you successfully logged in to the GitHub, now what I need to do, so I need to create a memory for my project, which is called the repository. So let me create a repository. I'm clicking on new. So in the new, I need to give the repository name. So you can see repository name. I'm giving the repository name as B70 uh, repo. Okay, so B70 repo stands for repository. So you can give this in capital letters as well, B70 repo. Now it will say is this repository is available. Available means somebody else used with the same name, or this is a fresh name. Yeah, this is a fresh name, so it is available. Now you cannot you can give some description for your repository if you want, and this repository should be public. And come down, click on create repository. Now we have created one memory in the GitHub. Now in this memory, I can push my code uh, from Business Application Studio. All right. So once you create the repository, so you can see this is the URL of your repository. If at all you want to connect to this repository and see what code is there. Okay, so you might have seen some developers, they give the link of this repository and say, and they will say this is where my code is present. You can download that code. Even you can download the code from after today's class. You can, I will give this link to you. You can also download the code from this link. Now copy this link. Now what is this link? This link is nothing but the link of this repository. Okay. See, this is the link of the Git repository. Now, from wherever in the world, if you hit this URL will connect to this repository, which is inside the GitHub, and you can see the source code, you can download the source code, all that stuff you can do. Now, as of now, you can see this repository is not showing any files. So the reason is it didn't have any files at this moment. Okay. All right, now let's open our next step. That is, you need to open your business application studio, and you need to initialize this local repository and push all the source code and files into this repository. So I'm going to do that. Where is my Bit 70 business application studio? This topic is very useful in your real time, guys. I bet is very, very, very useful when you get into the project. The immediate first thing you will be searching is for this Git repository. Okay, especially those who are working with the business application studio. Web ID people still have, some breathing time. You can still pull your code directly from the server because when you pull the code directly from the server, also Web ID will, when you right click and run your application, it runs without any problem. I think Vijay, you asked me, right, regarding this. Somebody have asked this, so that's
Yes,
the reason
yes,
I.
Rizwan. Thanks.
Yeah. So once I push this code into the Git repository, I will ask maybe one of your business application studio to show you. You can assume it like you are a new developer. Okay, so I did the development, I pushed into the repository, and you are the new developer. So you need to work on the changes on this project. So how can you pull this code from the Git repository? So to demonstrate that, I may ask another business application studio. Okay, so I just need the credentials. What is this? It is taking the time. The space manager. What happened to this dev space manager? Why are you not loading? Seems little down today. This is the only problem with Business Application Studio. Otherwise, it is good. Since it loads from the SAP BTP, nobody can do anything in this. And in some batches, there are students who complaining about this slowness to me. What I can do in this? If your BTP is slow, nobody can do anything. See how much slowly it is loading. So enter your trial account. So this also has come. So wait for a few seconds, guys. Once it is running, we can start our pushing. Yeah, it's running. All right. So now this is our code. We established the complete flow of execution. Okay. Now I want to push this code changes. Let's say the project is over. I want to push this code changes to the server. So how to do that? So first, right click on the project. Go to this open integrated terminal. So what it does, it goes to the terminal. Okay. Now here, so step number one is you need to initialize the local repository for this project. So how we can do that? So we do this by using commands, my dear friends. So sometimes even I forget the command, so I keep all these commands at one place. So these are called Git commands. And just 2 days back, I attended an interview with HCL. Okay, so frankly telling you, uh, she asked one question, tell me all the Git commands. Okay, so these are the commands. Right. So the first command is you need to type git space init. I will tell you the meaning of each command. The git space init will initialize the local repository. git space init. Try to type the command so that you remember the commands. Suddenly in an interview, people may ask. Okay, if you copy paste, you will never ever remember the command. Only if you type, you will remember the command. So git space init. Now you can see initialized an empty git repository. So this is a git repository only for your project B70 UI5 app. Now the next step is, so you need to add all these files into this local repository. So this is the second step. So how can you do that? You need to use git space add dot means all the files that are present in this project, inside the project. Dot means in the current project, whatever are there, push everything into that local repository. It's done. So local repository is filled with all the files. Okay. Now, it will keep all the files in something called staging area. So it will not push into the local repository. Sorry for that. So what it will do, it will keep all the files, into a staging area. The staging area. So what is the staging area? You can just assume it like just before you commit or just before you push the files into this particular local repository. So just before all the files get into this local repository, they will be kept into something called staging area. Now, from the staging area to get into this local repository, you need to give a description like what these code changes are about. Okay. So this is where the version management come into picture. So now, till now, whatever the code changes I have done, they are complete flow of execution. Tomorrow I may add one button, right? So when I add one button, at that time again that file will go into the staging area. So before the commit, I can write. So every commit needs a description. So in the description I can give like I added the button. Okay, and tomorrow let's say you again don't want the button, you want to again go back to that initial flow of execution code, so you can pull out that code as well. So that is called basically the version control mechanism that your git offers automatically. All right, so let me copy this one. So this statement will commit all the files from staging area into this local repository. So at this moment, all my files are present in the staging area. So staging area, you can assume it like a waiting area. So before it gets into this local repository, so they wait in the staging area. So now I'm committing those files into the local repository. So how to do that? It's using a command git commit -yum. Now you need to give the description. So let me give the description. Complete flow. So I've given that description and click enter. Now immediately you can see all the files pushed into the local repository. You can see each and every file, web app folder, manifest.json, model.js, all the files, whatever are present in this one. So they went into the local repository. Okay. But at this moment, if you just go and see this particular URL, github.com, this one, it does not contain any files because they were not yet pushed into. So let me refresh. So it is as it is, no coding files it is showing. So nothing is there, right? Now what I am going to do, so now all the coding files are present in the local repository. Now I can do a commit, I can do a push to this one. To do a push to this repository, first of all, your local repository does not know what is your actual remote repository. This is called remote repository, my dear friends. and this is called local repository. So first of all, you need to set your remote repository where you want to push. I want to push to this, correct? I want to push to this. So you need to set that particular remote repository by using this command. I will just edit this command here itself. So git space remote. Remote means remote repository. So before you push it to the remote repository, you need to tell what is your remote repository. Okay, there can be any number of repositories in the world. So you need to tell which is your remote repository. So let me copy this. So this is my remote repository, and you need to paste your URL here. Okay, now copy this command git space remote space add origin, and now I'm going to do that. Hit enter. Now the remote repository is successfully added to the local git repository. So now this local repository knows which is the remote repository. Okay, it knows, that's all. Still the code is not pushed. You just given this path saying that, boss, this is my repository. That's all. Now the push of the files from the local repository to the remote repository will happen. How? By using the last command, and that is git push -u origin main. Okay, so now hit enter, and now uh, so the verification code is this. Copy the code and open the GitHub to complete the process. So at this moment, when you are pushing the files from local repository into this remote repository, see, remote repository is GitHub, right? Inside the GitHub, you have this repository. So no repository will allow you to push the files without authentication. So I set a authentication using this verification code, my dear friends. So sometimes, I set it like this. Okay, I set it like a verification code. Sometimes it may ask username and password. You need to give your username and password as a authentication. For example, in our offices, when you open Teams or something, every time we don't enter username and password, right? So there is a authenticator app, so which gives some one-time password OTP kind of thing. So I said that OTP kind of thing. So there is a reason it is prompting for the verification code, because it is now going to push my code changes into this GitHub. So to enter into the GitHub, it needs username and password. Okay, we can't allow anybody to simply enter into my code repository and push the files, correct? So let me copy and open the GitHub. Now it will ask this one. Let me paste it. Okay, and continue. Uh, I want to authorize, saying that that's fine. Now it's asking the password. Actually, it should not ask the password. Okay, so let me continue. Yeah, so all set, the device is connected now. So it is asking, would you like to save the credentials for future use? You can, maybe you can set, say, first option you can choose, no problem. And now this is done. Okay, so now let me go to this repository and just hit enter. Now you can see all the coding files are present in this repository. So if I give this URL to you, so if you hit this particular URL, so you can get this all the code. Okay. Now I will show you. Let's say I'm the new developer. Okay, and this is a repository. I want to pull the code from this particular repository. Somebody has done the coding. Now I'm a new developer. I want to take this particular code. So how to do that? So maybe I will show you here itself. or we have another business application studio as well. Yeah, so yeah, I'm just going to another business application studio. Uh, trialondemand.com. So like this every day, what you need to do, you need to do the changes and you need to repeat these commands, and so that first your code goes to the local repository and then it will be pushed to the remote repository. So normally what we do, we push it into the local repository only. So after 1 week, we push it into the main repository. Okay, so other developer who is a new developer, so I will take the code from here. Okay. Most of the real-time projects that I have seen, the SAP UFI developer will be single. We don't have multiple developers for the front end. This is what I have observed in SAP UFI projects. This is taking time. So meantime, I will show you something. So let's say after that, you push the initial complete flow of execution. So let's say I open my view, v1.xml, and let's say I'm adding some label. Okay, yeah, this is the label, and let's say this is the text. So dummy text. So I added this. Click on save, and immediately you can see there is a this is called a Git repository symbol. It is saying that, boss, there is one change that you have done in the view1.view.xml, so which is not pushed. Okay, so it will hint you. It will hint you, but it does not mean that immediately you push it into into the local repository. But it will always tell you how many changes you have done. Okay, so let's say I want to add this particular label and into this local repository. I want to push it. Then what you can do? So click on this symbol, and the moment you click on this, it show you what is the change, the new change that you have done. It is saying this is v1.view.xml, so this is changed. This code changed. So you can give the message like label added, like this, label added, and then you can commit. Click on commit, so that this particular change will also go into the local repository. Remember, it goes to local repository only. Alternatively, this can also be done without clicking on this one by repeating your commands. So you don't need to repeat these commands, guys. This is few people get confused in this. So don't repeat this command. Git init you should not use because your repository is already initialized. Okay, so you just need to use this command git.add dot, so that only whatever the files that you have changed, those only will get into the staging area. And after that, you can write git commit -m label added. So here give the description like label added. So this is called description of your commits, label added. That's all. Now it will get into this local repository. And if you want to push this change to the remote repository, then this command is common. Okay. So the only thing is you should not use the first command. It should be used only for the very first time, not every time. Okay, so this is taking time. What I will do, I will just show you from here itself. So let's say I'm the new project, new developer. So I do not have this project. Let's just review. I will go to the view command palette. So you need to go to view command palette and go to the get started page. So this page comes whenever you open the business application studio. Some people, what they do, they click this into button and they miss this page. And after that, they will be searching from where I can get this get started page. Okay, so you can go to view command palette and type get started so that the get started page will come. So here now, what you need to do, click on clone repository, clone from Git, because my project is present in the Git repository. Okay, so you need to copy this URL. This is the URL where your code is present. You are a new developer and you want to pull the code from this code repository as we already discussed. So this is the new developer. You want to pull the code from here. So straight away option clone from Git. So give the URL, hit enter, and it may ask the username and password. So it has not asked for me because I selected the option save for the lateral use. So that's why it didn't ask. Uh, and after that, click on open, and that's all your project is here. See, this is the project. You can see all the folders, files, everything is there. Okay, so this is how you can pull the code from the Git repository into here. You can so you can very well preview this application. So just like a fresh project. All right. So I'm just going to file, open folder. So always make sure you open this projects folder because all the projects will be there in this under the same tree projects folder. So like this, I pull my code. So this is the code that I pulled from the server, so from the repository. Sorry. Okay. So at the time the developer, when the developer has created the project, the name is B70 UI5 app. But when I pull the code from the code repository, the name is B70 repo. It does not matter. Okay, the project name does not matter at all. This is just a name. That's all. Okay. All right, guys. So this is what I just wanted to show you. And second thing I wanted to show you is, let's say some developer developed the code using SAP Web IDE, and you want that code into the Business Application Studio. So let me open this Web IDE. So I'm straight away opening the local Web IDE. Yep, that's 70. So let's say this is the project that is developed using Web IDE, and we know that Web IDE does not contain the UI5 AML, all that files. So I'm just exporting it. Right click, export. Export means download. Now this code is obviously developed using this SAP Web IDE. But now I'm working with the Business Application Studio. So I want this code into the Business Application Studio, and I should be able to run this application. How to do that? So first thing, what you need to do is you need to download the code from Web IDE. Okay, so download that particular code from Web IDE and come to Business Application Studio. So here there is a import option. So click on the import option, and select the project that you want into the Business Application Studio. So this is the project that I want. Double click. And now the Business Application Studio is having an intelligent tool called migration tool. It detects the projects that are developed using the SAP Web ID, and they will automatically do the necessary migration. Migration means from Web ID to Business Application Studio, whatever the extra files that are needed, so those files will be created automatically. Just click on Start Migration. And here you need to select the project. So this is the project, and click on Start Migration again. So it is doing the migration. In few seconds, the migration will be over. Yep. So you can see the migration is over, and now this is the application information of this application information. Now you can see the UI5 got created, package.json got created. Okay, so all the files, node modules folder got created. This is not there. So everything got created. Now in this application information page, so this gets created in the application information page. So you can just, there is a into mark here, node modules are not installed. Just click this for a safer side. Just click this, run npm install. Just click this, that's all. But this is not compulsory. All right. See, anything you do, the results will shown in the terminal. All right. Now I want to run this application. I want to really see if is this application running from Business Application Studio or not. So you can use the option preview application, which is directly present in this application information. So let me click on this, and it is asking which option to select. Select index.html. So we always use that option only in the real time. And now you can see the Web ID project is running from Business Application Studio. So let us see if the output will come or not. Yeah. Now you can see the output, the title, and this body. So this is coming in this color combination because of its theme. Okay. So I can go to the index.html and I can do the changes, all that stuff. This is common again. Okay. So now this migration is done. So I know I don't need this, and I don't need this as well. So this is Fury 3, and I can say dark so that the dark theme gets loaded. So like this, you can continue working with the Business Application Studio. So this is something which people always get a challenge in the real time. So I thought, why can't I include this topic, which is very useful for most of the people. Yeah, that's all, my dear friends. So in tomorrow's class, we will continue with our the next creating the very basic UI elements and all. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you.